Doing this every retreat now, of a few of us getting up and sharing experiences, stories, personal stories with while we lived in India with Maharaj-ji. So we've been saying, I noticed, Mirabai has said it and Krishna has said it, that Maharaj-ji really didn't teach in the classical sense. He definitely gave us teachings, but it was more, as Krishna said last night, Christ and Hanuman and Krishna are one, these kinds of teachings. And so I was and then he told the story of the Canadian guy and asking Maharaj-ji how to meditate. So I kind of looked back, actually. I have my diary, and I just took a look at exactly what he said.
Is what you thought he said.
You know,
that's what Raghu thought he said.
This microphone isn't working well. It is? Okay. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Did it actually happen, or was it...
I'm going to read exactly what he said. Exactly what I wrote down. But I wrote it down on the bus on the way home. It was pretty well recollected.
But you can't read that writing. Come on, tell the truth. You're making it up.
Parvati typed it out. So I asked him how to meditate, as Krishnadas said last night. And here's also the gap between us saying that teachings were coming from a non-dual place, and they perhaps were saying, we had to really bring in these words of Maharaj-ji, and they took effect, later, or, our molecules changed without us knowing what was going on. But as I read these things, I'm not so sure. So he said, he didn't throw me into the back of the ashram saying, get out of here, whatever Krishna said. He said, do as Jesus did and see God in everyone. That's what he said. Take pity on all and love all as God. When Jesus was crucified, he only felt love. That's the exact words that he gave me in that moment.
That's what he said in the back of the temple, or?
No. When I asked him, right away he said, do as Jesus did and see God in everyone.
I like my version better.
See, this is what happened with the Bible.
Mark. I don't remember it that way, Mark.
Moving along. In each one of your care packages that were given out when you registered, there was this postcard of His Holiness, which I had found on the net and decided it fit the theme of this retreat. The more you are motivated by love, the more fearless and free your actions will be. Which recalled to me a story that Krishnadas told recently to a mutual friend, and I'd like him to recount it. Courage.
Well, a friend of mine and I, Maharaj-ji disappeared, as he always did. And nobody knew where he was. So I went to Delhi with a friend, and we asked around some of the old Indian devotees where they thought he was, and either nobody knew or nobody would tell us. It's pretty much the same thing. But then we kind of bribed the driver of one of the devotees to tell us where his boss had gone, because we figured somehow that Maharaj-ji was with this guy, Mr. Barman. So the driver told us that Barman had gone to Bombay and was staying in a particular hotel. So my friend and I, we flew to Bombay, and we went to this hotel, and we sat in the lobby of the hotel all day long, waiting to see who would show up. And finally in the evening, the devotee shows up, and he says, "Krishna Das, you are here? What are you doing here?" And I said, "Mr. Barman, we heard Maharaj-ji's in Bombay." "Really? In Bombay?" "Well, I have some work to do. Come up to my room, order some food, relax. I'll go out and finish my work, and when I come back, we'll try to find him." Well, if he didn't know, nobody knew, right? So I was suicidal, And so we were up in the room, and I'm kind of like, what's going to happen now? We're in Bombay, we'll never find him. So I'm looking out the window, and all of a sudden the door to the room opens, and somebody goes, "Don, who is it?" And I turn, and it's Maharaj-ji. And I just, really? Oh my God. So he used to come, so we got rooms in the hotel, and every day he'd come and hang out with us in the hotel. And there was this little buzzer next to the bed, which called for the floor boy, the guy who took care of all the rooms on that floor, brought you towels and stuff like that. Maharaj-ji would ring it, and this guy would come. He rang like 50 times. He'd just go bang, bang. Every 10 seconds, this guy would have to come back to the room, thinking, what karma this guy has to get all this darshan. It's unbelievable, Anyhow, a lot of incredible things happened because we hung out with him every day, all day, just me and this other devotee, and mostly in silence. He didn't really, he couldn't really talk to us that much in English. So with the Indian devotees, he was talking all the time, but with us, he just sat there or kind of closed his eyes, and it was just beautiful, quiet space. So one day we went to another apartment. He called us to come spend some time with him there. And we were there, and he was sitting on the bed, and I was sitting on the floor, and this Indian guy there, Mr. Barman, was there. And I was just sitting there with my eyes closed for a long time, and all of a sudden he sits up, and he looks at me and he says, "Courage is a really big thing." And I go, what's going to happen? I don't think I'll be able to deal with it. So then Barman says to him, "Oh, but Baba, God takes care of his devotees." Maharaj-ji shot him a look like that, and he looked back at me and he said, "Courage is a really big thing." Then he went back to sleep. Just left me sitting there with that, And, I had no idea what it meant. Absolutely no idea. Not a clue. I was in India for the duration at that point. I had no intention of ever doing anything except staying in India. But there have been times in my life, a few times, where all I had to save me was just the memory of him saying that. There was no possibility of courage. There was no possibility of action. I was completely lost, completely drowning. But I just had the barest memory of him saying that. And it was enough to keep me at least up to here. And there was another thing that happened. You want to talk about that? Okay.